So, the Long Man of Wilmington, the solar clock, equinox shadow and sacred landscape. I'm part of a community of people that are into a subject called archaeoastronomy, which might sound like a big word, but what it means is how the ancients viewed the stars and the sun and the moon. It's as simple as that, okay? So the classic example would be how on the summer solstice the sun rises over Stonehenge. This is within the fields of archaeoastronomy. So what we've got here is a very old etching of the Long Man of Wilmington. Have we been to the Long Man of Wilmington? Can I see some hands? Who's been to the Long Man? Anyone else? Are we Sussex? Is everyone from Sussex here? Or yeah? No? Well, this is a key figure in the historic landscape, not only of Sussex, but of Great Britain. One of the famous chalk figures, one of the ancient mysterious figures that's found. And East Sussex is punching well above its weight with this one, because the Long Man of Wilmington is loved and revered by many people and is known as a kind of emblem around the world. So today I'm going to look at the location, the history, the archaeology, Orion, the constellation, how sacred sites are defined, the sacred landscape, some artists, the Wilmington ley line, acoustics, local knowledge, rumours of a solar clock, auspicious days, and the Long Man shadow clock. Okay. So, have we all seen this figure before? Yeah. This is the Long Man of Wilmington. In a beautiful part of the South Downs in East Sussex, high on the Windover Hill, an enigmatic chalk hill figure called the Long Man, with a height of 235 feet. Cut into the downland turf on a slope of 28 degrees, facing slightly east of north towards the Weald. While the height of the man is 226, the staves are 230 and 235 feet respectively, with a width between the staves being almost exactly half that. Okay, we're going to come back to that. There's some sacred geometry going on there. So look at this. How important is our Long Man? Well, there's only one other giant known in the world that's a little bit bigger, and that's the giant of Atacama. And this is the largest representation of a man anywhere in the world. 393 feet. So when we're looking at the Long Man, you know, he, in East Sussex, he's right up there with the heavyweights. All right? I want to see a bit more like, come on, that's it. Thank you. Let's give it a bit of what we got here. Right, let's see what we got here. Okay. The history. The site is steeped in ancient history, okay? Folklore. There's been much speculation about the Long Man over the many years. Also different visual iterations. But amongst the theories, there is no agreed date for the construction, either between the academics or the locals. The origins of the Long Man are lost in history. So here we've got 4 different iterations going back to 1710, the one on the right here, being the oldest. But that's just when it was first written down that we have. That doesn't mean it wasn't written down before that. That's just what we've got on record, okay? And you can see how it's, you know, developed over the years. The Green Man, before 1874, sometimes known locally as the Green Man, because of the overgrown state, but more likely than that, the name indicates a connection with fertility. It's worth noting the figure had practically disappeared and was not always visible. But we have also noted a Green Man phenomenon that happens, which I'll discuss later. T.C. Lethbridge, who was a scholar that was very interested in English chalk hill figures, said that when he was a boy, he was told by a shepherd that the Long Man once had a companion, and they were known as Adam and Eve. Right? Now, some more folklore. It's not just the Long Man in this valley. The entry to Albion, by the way, this valley. Okay? When you land at Cookmere and you come up. You know, the beach is not far from here, so it's the entrance to England. Folklore, the White Horse of Litlington. J.P. Emsley in 1905 set down, there were memories of a figure representing a man from a horse on a hill above nearby Alfriston. Other writers have mentioned a figure on the slopes of Hindover Hill. Hadrian Alcroft saying of it that men who were schoolboys in the 1860s recollect it well enough, though it had vanished. Mm-hmm. All right? The learned folk refused to believe them. Ooh. Now we've got some more interesting stuff. There's a giant folklore. Okay? There are several giant legends associated with the Long Man, and they concern two giants, the Long Man on Windover Hill and another one who lived on Firle Beacon. Firle Beacon's in the photograph here, right? It's that beautiful hill on the downs there, right? They had a quarrel and they were hurling boulders at each other. And then the Firle giant eventually killing the Long Man, who now lies dead on the hillside. Now, this is interesting because there's somewhere called Hunter's Burr. If you've ever been up on the top of Windover Hill, Hunter's Burr is a barrow, an ancient barrow. Okay? So it's called Hunter's Burr. I'm emphasising that. Sunset at Firle Beacon disappears and reappears approximately on the 18th of May. So if you go to this spot, you'll actually see the sun disappear and reappear again, which is fascinating. That's what this photograph is. And this particular spot is where two ancient trackways cross. So anyone into the Alfred Watkins ley line phenomena would have noted this site in particular as a crossroads of the street and the South Downs Way, both ancient trackways. So the archaeology up on top of Windover Hill, I want you to look at this. This is the landscape that surrounds the Long Man. A high concentration of archaeological sites, including long barrows, round barrows, platform barrows, dew ponds, chalk quarries, an alleged Roman road, also known as the Giant Causeway. So can everyone see the Roman terraceway on there and the Roman terraceway, that line there? I want you to, can you mark that one out? My arm's not long enough. Can everyone see it? Yeah. We're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to keep an eye on that particular alleged Roman terraceway. Because no one was walking there before the Romans. Right? No one, they didn't know about it. It was just when the Romans got here, then they built that road, and that's why we call it the Roman terraceway. Also the chalk quarry. Yeah, the chalk quarry. Yeah, as if you know the Long Man, you'll see there's an excavation next to it. Come on in, lads, we need some chalk. Oh, where are we going to get it from? We're going to go up to the Long Man, isn't it? Get it from now. Don't think so. Anyway, I digress. Orion and the Long Man, the hunter. John North was of the view that the stars were the carriers of the dead, and Orion, the hunter star constellation, could imply a link to the adjacent Hunter's Burr Barrow. Ooh. Yeah? You see, it's all tying in now. The Hunter's Burr, the Barrow, the Hunter, Orion. So this sketch of the Long Man of Wilmington is from his book, J. North, in 1997. You can see the star constellation and how he saw it mapped out next to it, okay? Okay, how are sacred sites, sacred places and sacred cultural landscapes defined? Sacred sites are found within a large geographic landscape. Sacred places are sites or areas or landscapes having one or more attributes that distinguish them as extraordinary or significant. Now that's usually in a religious or spiritual sense. Sacred landscapes are geographic areas that have special meaning for people who have a long-standing historical association and relationship within a region. Right next to the Long Man, we've got St Mary's Church and St Peter's in Wilmington, where you can see the yew tree in the churchyard there. That could be well between 2,000 and 3,000 years old. So that church was built after the yew tree, if you see what I mean. The yew tree wasn't planted, it was the yew tree was there first. So we've already got the yew is sacred in ancient folklore. Then you've got a church, now we've got a priory, Wilmington Priory. Okay? So how do sacred landscapes form man-environment relationships? The sacredness of such a landscape is heavily dependent upon its cultural context. These cultural contexts include traditions, rituals performed in a region, the beliefs of the people living there. Thus, sacred landscapes generally have no connection with materiality, however. They create a sensory perception that allows man to feel the space. In a cultural context, sacred landscapes are revered due to their natural environments and their energies of the specific place. This reverence was due to the sacred values of the landscape, the natural beauty, tranquility, harmony and uniqueness. These are intangible values that can be perceived only through one's senses. Okay? Obviously a picture of Machu Picchu there. The sacred landscape. The many archaeological sites, churches and priories surrounding the Long Man, combined with an astounding natural beauty of the South Downs, could imply this area was considered a very sacred place to the ancient peoples who lived there. If you can see in this photo, we've got here the excavation that I was talking about, the chalk pit, right? But this is, you're seeing it now without any trees in it. Okay, this is an old aerial photograph. And in front of the chalk pit, you can see just below it a platform. Yeah. Now that platform is very contrived for a start, and it's one of these sites that when they were doing these chalk excavations, they just picked these great sites that if you were DJing, you'd put your decks there, and you just got the best ever venue. Okay. Yes. You just look. It's just the best place you could possibly do it. Okay. So there's other chalk excavations that also have this phenomena of a platform and a massive area where you could gather a lot of people and they could put their hands in the air. And I want you to look at this line. See the line along the top here? Yeah. That's the alleged Roman terraceway. Okay? Wow. Okay? And then if you can see just above that, we've got a long barrow. Well, again, my arm's not long enough to point it, but there's a big circular kind of excavation, and right next to it a kind of sausage type shape. That is the ancient barrow. Okay, we're going to come back to that one as well, so keep that one in your mind as well. But yes, the egg shape. Speaking of egg shapes, this really does look like, I don't want to get too technical, but within the archaeo and stone circle kind of world, all circles are not the same, okay? I'm just going to go over this. There's many different types of circle, okay? And we call them flattened or egg-shaped or ellipses or type A or type B, right? This very much looks to me like an egg-shaped circle type 2, the one there. And we've actually got the sacred geometers through the megalithomania community to actually verify that there is sacred proportion in that excavation, right? So this is quite an interesting, observation. You can't see it like this now, the egg, what I call the egg, because it's full of trees. Okay? But like I said at the beginning, you decide. So we'll keep going. The height of the Long Man. Some say 236 feet, 235 feet. No, 234 feet. If we apply the concepts of John Michel, the great John Michel, and metrology to this, it could possibly be a reference to the tilt of the Earth's axis, 23.5 degrees, because this is how metrology works. Okay? This is a whole subject in itself. Okay? And then you've got the poles. Do they represent the North and South Pole? Yeah? Or the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer? Right? It's a 2-to-1 measurement. If you go back to the feet. Another fact is that the height of the staves is just twice their distance apart, representing a 2-to-1. measurement, which is again sacred geometrical proportions going on here. And just for effect, this area, this is off of megalithic.co.uk, Andy Burnham's site. You can just see the Long Man is just up here in the centre part there, and it's just clustered, littered with ancient sites. This area of the South Downs, it is full to the brim of ancient sites. So there was something going on up there. They weren't just going up there for a laugh. Now, being a place where, you know, we say a sacred place, you get this connection with artists, and you know, they like to paint it. Okay, they like to paint the Long Man. So look, we've got this one was sent to me by Jay Butler. Moonwalk. Yeah. So there's a connection. People go there to paint it. Okay, yeah. They're not, you know, it's something which has been on the record here. Yeah. So these are just some contemporary. Oh, Ravilius in the V&A. Let's see what the V&A had to say. The Wilmington giant, or the Long Man of Wilmington, cut into the turf of the northern slope of the Downs near Eastbourne, is subject to fierce controversy. Some say it is of great antiquity and represents the Celtic Iron Age god, similar to the Roman god Janus, who stands at the doorway of the celestial year. Celestial year? Oh. However, recent excavations at the foot of the hill suggest a more recent date. Oh, they found a bit of pottery. Yeah. It must mean that. It must mean that. It must. The purpose of the gigantic figure is still a complete mystery. That's not me saying it, that's the V&A, so go and argue with them. Yeah. You got this one, I've pulled this one out. I mean, I want to take what he's been taking. Fusing the dynamism of the Grosvenor School and the visionary pastoralism of Samuel Palmer, Jeremy Blyton's expressive graphic work can be found in museums across the UK and abroad. Okay. Sally Elford, a view of the ancient, mysterious Long Man, a rolling hillside figure, a timeless scene from early summer. Look at this, there's another etching here, the Wilmington Giant again, and you can still see the chalk pit in there and the platform in front of it, which is, you see that in all of the ones that go back, it's always there. Right? And then we've got this other great artist here. And it just so happens I have some here with me today. You can come and see me at the end.
Brilliant.
This is one of my ones, yeah.
Stump?
Well, it's my name, isn't it? Stuart Mason. If you got it.
Yeah, got it down, yeah. Stump.
See me at the end. So, the Wilmington ley line, a controversial subject. Alfred Watkins himself mentions the giant in his seminal book, The Old Straight Track, putting forward a theory that the figure is a dodman, someone who laid out the original ley lines with the help of his two staves. The Long Man himself appears on a ley line, given as one of the official lines in Paul Devereux's Ley Hunter's Companion, right? So, a whole subject in itself, ley lines, but for the sake of this, a straight line with a tumulus, ancient barrow, which is an ancient burial mound, another burial mound, the Long Man, and again the priory and the church there in Wilmington. They form a ley line, and this is a classic ley line that goes back with the Old Straight Track and Alfred Watkins, the founder of the word. And there it is for any map geeks, the actual line that they're talking about. I plotted out on the OS maps. So that is the ley line that the Long Man is on. Now, another interesting phenomena that's been revealed by the Long Man is the acoustics of the site. So, when sitting on the head, if someone is speaking, even softly, it can be heard on the platform below. Wow. Right? And that was, my brother was sitting there with his children, and they were up the top on the head, and they weren't amazingly shouting at each other, they were just talking. And we could hear it clearly, just on the platform below, like the acoustics there, okay? So this is a very, again, going back to that whole acoustical thing. And also look at how beautiful the platform is here. I hope you can see that. Yeah, I mean, you know, this platform right there is where we're going to put the decks. I'm sure of it. Okay. Local knowledge. So David Staveley, this is anyone in Sussex. If you haven't seen this, go to this website, sussexarch.org.co.uk or .org.uk. Great resource for Sussex. The giant as an almanac. Some people say the giant is a solar almanac. The sunrise touching the tips of his staves, or the staves only being lit by the sunrise or sunset at certain times of the year, such as the equinox. No evidence has yet been found of this. Ooh. Ooh. I can feel the anticipation building. Bursting point in here, isn't it? Right, what's Mike Collier had to say? Another local belief was that one either side of the figure was an upright line. Oh yeah, this one. Presumably a trench or bank that ran from the bottom to the summit of the slope. Okay, so they're talking about a line. In 1923, an 80-year-old inhabitant stated that when he was a boy, his parents told that on the June the 21st each year, there was visible for about an hour at midday a straight line running from the top to the bottom of the hill on the left of the figure. So make of that as what you will, but they're talking about the summer solstice, the 21st of June. So there's more indications here that there's something celestial going on, because they're talking about times of the year that the ancients were very interested in, because you had to know when it was summer solstice and you had to know when it was winter solstice. Otherwise you all die, because this is how you're doing your farming, your hunting and your gathering, everything, your food sources, everything revolves around these 2 days. And the equinox is the halfway point. So, we've got rumours of a solar clock, which is an archaeoastronomer's dream. So we've decided to make the pilgrimage to the Long Man for all the auspicious days of the year to see if we could finally solve the mystery of the Long Man. Little did we know it was about to reveal some of its secrets. So when I say the auspicious days of the year, the solstices, the equinoxes, and then we have the cross-quarter days, which the pagan people still celebrate and stuff like that. But they actually mark halfway between the equinox and the solstice. So they're about 43 days, so they're very important. Okay, so we've got rumours of a solar clock. Ooh, look at that. Oh. Well, this is the great discovery. You should now be falling off your seats. We found that just before the sunset, on the equinox, the shadow cast by the Giant's Causeway, or the alleged Roman road, perfectly bisects the Long Man. Does this represent equal day, equal night? Is that clear enough on that photo? It's clear on mine, okay. So this doesn't happen all the time, this perfect bisection with a shadow, okay? In fact, the peak of when this happens, and I've been through shadow online calculators and stuff like that as well. The literal peak of this is at the equinox, right? This is how it works. So you could be standing in a field, and if you see this shadow effect happening, you know you're at the equinox, right? Either way, that's happening, okay? Every year, spring, March 21st, September the 21st, equinox time of year, you can go there and see this shadow effect. And if you didn't have a clock or a calendar, you could literally work out where you were in the year, okay? There it is in a bit more detail. You see it's going from stave to stave, okay? Right? It's a coincidence, I hear you shout.
Yes.
No, not a coincidence.
It's a coincidence. Is it? No. I reply. Well, it does the same thing in the morning as well. Because we stayed the night, and to our delight, we were even more excited about this one because it's in the completely opposite direction, right? Now that doesn't look as clean a line, does it? I know why, because there's bushes growing there. So we are going to chop them bushes down. No, we're not. But if those bushes weren't there, right, that would be a perfectly straight line, okay? It would be a perfectly straight line. it is literally, you can see how much the shadow lengths are, and that's where, you know, so that is what is affecting that. But anyway, I've photoshopped the two together, and you've got this kind of after sunrise shadow in the morning, and then before shadow in the sunset. So either way, you've got this lovely triangular, you know, effect going on, okay? Which I thought, being an archaeoastronomer, is very, very interesting, because the same thing happens in Mexico. If you go to the pyramid of Chichen Itza on the equinox, you'll see a shadow move that goes down the side of the pyramid. And the way it forms and the way it builds is exactly the same as what happens here in Sussex. Okay? Funny we got that Mexico connection with the big tall bloke as well, but it is the same sort of thing going on, right? Okay. Now, can you see this? I don't know how clear that is. It might be clear if you look at my laptop, possibly, right? This is 3D modelling. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So that triangulating pattern is a progression, a sequential progression of the shadow, a 3D model. So it must have been someone's 3D modelled the Downs. Not me, but someone's done it, and they've created a shadow program. And I went all the way over the Downs, right? And I was looking at different sites as well that have a similar kind of geographical nature to them. But we don't have this perfect chevron style thing going on. Okay, so I just want you to kind of get what we're looking at here. This is north, and these marks are where the shadow progresses during the day from the sunrise to the sunset, making this perfect triangle that you've seen.
It's a bit light. You can't really make it out so much.
You can't make it out. No.
But I can get the gist of it.
You can get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Maybe this one will be clearer.
Yeah.
Right? So again, this is the shadow progression, okay, sequentially over time, forming these perfect chevrons on the side of the hill, right? In this kind of almost perfect, like, you know, I was absolutely stunned when I found this out, because I've looked at different, you know, all over the Downs. I've been going over the same program, a shadow creating program, basically, that mimics the shadows, and it doesn't happen anywhere else. It's only happening here. This is the one I wanted to show you. This shot. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is pretty. So what is casting the shadow? The Giant's Causeway and the Alleged Roman Road. We've talked about that. There you go. That's what's casting it. Now this adds more weight to an archaeoastronomer who says, yeah, that, you know, this has been terraformed. This was done on purpose.
Yeah.
This is, you know, this isn't by accident,
Yeah.
right? The shadow casting lines, straight lines, and all the perfect chevrons of it all. You know, this isn't an accident. All right, then a good friend of mine, Hugh Newman, came down on the summer solstice, and we were looking for the, you know, what if anything was going to happen, and we noticed that on the summer solstice, the effect is no shadow touches the Long Man all day, but in the edge of the Long Man to the left and right, there's two little gullies, and they just get a little bit of shadow in the morning and a little bit of shadow at sunset. Again, on the right here, if that wasn't the trees that are growing in the egg-shaped quarry, it would be a straight line. All right? So it's just the gullies either side. So effectively, the Long Man is in sun all day.
Yeah.
So you see a little bit of shadow to the left and a little bit of shadow to the right. You know you're in the summer solstice.
Right.
You see it split in half. Oh, we're in the equinox. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. If anyone's not following me, I can go through it with you at the end. I don't want to put you all to sleep. This is great stuff, because this tells you can be in the field without knowing now, and you can actually tell where you are in the year. Now, to push it even further into the kind of, they knew what they were doing, that long barrow I pointed out on top of the Windover Hill is aligned to 51 degrees north, which is exactly where the sunrise comes up on the summer solstice. at that latitude. So that long barrow is orientated towards it. Okay? So these guys really knew what they were doing. They were marking out the heavens, basically. The Green Man. Okay. At summer solstice, we also noticed, this was interesting, the tufts of grass on the head of the Long Man, right, turned into a face. Now that might sound like really whacked out, but in the height of summer, when you've got the shimmer going, and that kind of the grass and little tufts of grass, we saw the eyeballs, we saw we were like, it was like it was talking to us. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is.
It becomes the Green Man.
It becomes the Green Man.
Wow.
Yeah. Literally the face.
Yeah.
You can see the face.
Wow.
It was just, yeah.
Is it on the face of the long
It's like an optical illusion, but
Yeah.
it's still, you know, the tufts of grass were just like face, arm, and you know. It was... And then just to the right of this, that you can't really see it on this photo, but this is the trench that I think that they were talking about, where it comes down on the 21st. You can see it here on my computer a little bit better. It's just there on the right, very faint. Sorry about that. If this was darker, you'd probably see it better. Okay, anyway, winter solstice, which is midwinter. We went there, and it's in total darkness. It actually goes from about October 18th into total darkness. And as the local Druid group were saying, oh, that's when we believe it all goes into the underworld, and there's a whole mythology attached to being in the dark, the underworld and all that. But anyway, at the winter solstice, there's no sun at all. You don't get anything, it remains in shadow. So I'm just going to quick recap. When it's summer solstice at sunrise and sunset, the Long Man is in full sun all day. Only the gullies either side of the figure have a shadow. This is cast from the gullies themselves and then disappears as the sun rises. The shadow appears on the opposite side and the opposite gully just before sunset. Right. Equinox. Spring or autumn, at sunrise and sunset, the Long Man's bisected with a shadow that splits the Long Man in a diagonal half. The shadow is very aesthetically pleasing. That was noticed because when it reaches a certain point, it's just like, ooh, yeah. Why do you have to feel like that? It's just it's quite strange. But it's pleasing to the eye, and the shadow effect could represent equal day, equal night. When it's winter solstice at sunrise and sunset, the Long Man's in full shadow all day. No light touches the Long Man. He stays in the shadow of the underworld. Although this is a basic calendar, it does still work very well, and it would be possible that in ancient times observations of the shadow play over the Long Man could act as a rough gauge of where the day and seasons of the year were. And it could be, you know, like I said earlier, good for planting crops and whatever, food and other activities. So what have we learned? This is what we've learned. Okay, I'm going to go through this. We have learned the Long Man is very old, prehistoric. The Long Man is only 300 years old. The Long Man was cut for amusement by the monks from the priory in Wilmington village. The Long Man is 234 feet, 235 feet, and 236 feet tall. The Long Man is Orion the Hunter. The Long Man is the Dod Man. The Long Man is the Roman god Janus. The Long Man represents Beowulf fighting Grendel. The Long Man is a gateway, a guardian, made by a landowner, made by people long, long ago. He is the Green Man. He is the partner, Eve of the Adam and Eve. He's actually Gemini. The Long Man has poles for measuring ley lines, has a rake and a scythe, is connected to fertility, a giant solar clock, an unknown Iron Age deity with continuance of use into Roman times by Roman British natives, and some sort of god or hero such as Woden, Baldur, Thor, Varuna, Apollo, Mercury, the Prophet Muhammad, Bel, Pol, Solomon, Samson, and other more mundane figures such as a pilgrim, a haymaker, or a Roman standard bearer in the pose of that seen on certain Roman coins. Alright? You got that?
Yeah.
He's 100% a mystery. That is what we know for sure.
Yes.
And people have always loved him.
We love it.
So, there it is again. the equinox shadow. What I was going to do is just flick you to, if you ever want a tour up there, I could do little private guided walks up there and show you some amazing stuff. Let me know. But also, you're all invited.
Yes.
You know, this is you make your own mind up. You know, we're going to be down there 3 p.m. picnic on the lawn to look at the shadow. I reckon it'll probably start, if we get there for free, it'll be starting around then and build. So you're more than welcome to come and join us. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
I've also got some artwork if anyone wants to have a peruse of that later. Come and have a look. I've got some stuff.
Any questions, anybody?
Any questions? Nothing too complicated.
It's interesting, there was a woodcut done back in the day of the priory, and it actually was taken towards what is now shows the Long Man. It didn't show the Long